testicles. Here we go. And we're back. Hello, everyone.
Hello, and hola. I hope you are not all. I hope none of you are living mal,
Yeah.
as it were. Tell the good people what you experienced at the store.
Oh, yeah. So usually we've been sort of recording these episodes later in the evenings when we do record them.
It's 9:45 right now.
Right. So most of the time I'll stop and get me and Gary something to drink on my way over here. And so I went in. Well, first of all, I stopped to get got gas. That way I could make it over here. That way there would be no walking involved.
Were you a little low?
I was. I just happened. I would look down. I was like, ah, fuck. All right. Well,
Yeah.
We're doing this too. So I got the gas and I went inside and it's that little Chevron station over by where I live. You know what I'm talking about? Across from the truck stop there.
Oh yeah, down in the hole there.
Yeah. So
that one's pretty seedy.
it is seedy.
Yeah.
I go in there because there's nobody ever in there.
There's like no lights on.
Right. There's like one flickering light.
Yeah.
So I go in and I get our drinks and I'm headed up to the counter and there's a woman there that is purchasing scratch-offs, and in addition to scratch-offs, she was also getting lottery tickets.
Yeah.
So
She's covering all her bases.
Yeah, she's covering all of her bases, right? So she purchases them, and then I'm standing there, and she just starts scratching the scratch-offs right at the counter. And so I'm like, surely she's going to move here fairly soon, and she doesn't. So I have to tell this woman, hey, what you're doing is inappropriate and you need to move.
It's inappropriate.
So I have to treat her like my 4-year-old. So
We don't do this right now.
So I said, excuse me, ma'am. And she turns around and I told Gary, she has like 3 teeth in her head. Like she's missing a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So the last year really hanging on. And of course she's wearing, and I don't want to say that all Taco Bell employees are this way, but this one was. So, and she's wearing her Taco Bell fleece.
Yeah.
She's obviously just come from work. And so I told Gary, I said she was not living moss. All right.
Which is their slogan.
Right.
She was living mild, muy mal.
Yeah, muy mal.
Muy malo.
Yeah. Viva la mal.
You know, those...
Wouldn't that just mean live the bad?
Yeah, it would be live the bad, I think. Viva muy mal would be live very bad.
Live very bad. I've seen people do that too.
Yeah, for a long time. You know, you hear all the time about people who like win the lottery and it ruins them, right?
No.
So think about this lady. I mean, if you know, luck were on her side tonight, and say she won. You said she got like Powerball tickets too.
Yeah.
So I think Powerball's at like what, 145 million or
That's
something
not
like
much.
that.
Yeah.
Comparatively, compared to what it's been,
yeah.
I think it hit over $1 billion twice this year.
Right.
But I mean, say she hits that, and then you know the government takes their piece, and so she's left with like $70-80 million. What can that person do with that money, except for lose it all?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, they're not set up. They haven't actually earned that money over time.
Yeah.
So to take all of that money and be like, here you go, and to give it to them in like one large chunk,
Yeah.
well, they're going to get half of that chunk.
Yeah.
So she'll probably end up getting like $40 million of it out of like the 180.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what she would get, which is horseshit.
It is horseshit. Yeah.
However, like that would be the amount of money that she would get, and then she would probably proceed to go and buy like a $5 million house. Mm-hmm. So now she's down to $35 million. Buy a bunch of cars.
Yeah.
And probably another $2 million taken off.
Fill it up with a bunch of expensive furniture,
Right.
clothes.
Right. So you're talking
Yeah.
another million or so.
Yeah.
And then probably take a whole bunch of vacations.
Yeah.
And eat out all the time.
Like
and
within
just
the first year, 80% of this cash is gone.
gone.
Yeah.
Right. Gone.
Yeah. I mean,
Not to mention, like, you would have to pay the property taxes on this massive estate that you've also bought.
Yeah. You never really own anything.
No.
No. It all belongs to the bank.
Right.
I mean, I would like to think that if I came into an extremely, exorbitant amount of money, the thing that I would do would be, okay, I'm going to get somebody who knows what to do with this money and pay them
Right.
to do that with this money.
And then I'm going to hire a lawyer to watch that person.
And a PI to watch that lawyer.
I have a full staff.
Yeah. Just like a fucking puppet master. Just people watching people. You just hire like 20 PIs to follow each other. You think they'd ever...
This is like, what was the point of this?
It was really expensive, you guys. Wow. Yeah, but I mean, almost always those people will win that huge amount of money and they'll just blow through it.
Right,
Because
and
I think,
a lot of it, too, is they'll give a lot of that money away to their family and friends.
yeah, they'll get pressured into like,
Right.
giving it away and things like that.
Yeah.
And
You can suck my whole asshole. You
Yeah.
ain't getting shit.
both my butt cheeks in your whole mouth. It's
No, I think, like, if I was to come into that amount of money, the first thing I would do, like you said, would be to get somebody to kind of manage my money.
Yeah.
And then be like, look, everybody's debt's getting paid off. I'm going to wipe
Yeah.
everybody's slate clean.
Right.
Like, that's my gift to you.
Yeah.
Your house is, I'm going to purchase your house and give you the deed. And then any type of debt that you have, it's gone. So
Right.
your money is your money.
yeah. Your money goes to your bank account and it stays there.
Right.
It's not you're not being bled out every month.
Right. Slowly.
Yeah, it's like filling a bucket with
Yeah.
that's got holes all in
Yeah.
it.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
But I mean, I think the thing is a lot of people, some people will never even see $1 million in their lifetime,
No.
like cumulative.
Yeah, like in one lump sum.
Yeah. So like, if you all of a sudden you hand that to them, they have this idea that that's like like the end game. Like,
Right.
you're on creative mode now. You can just do whatever you want.
Oh, no.
when in reality, it can go really, really fast.
Right.
Like, even if, like, say, like, I played a scratcher and I won $1 million.
Right.
Like, obviously, I'm going to be excited about that.
Right.
But I know that that's not going to set me up for life in future generations. Like, this,
Like my numbers came in.
yeah. Like, the best I could do is probably, like, pay off my debts
Right.
and then put that in, like, an interest, some kind of account they'll build interest off
No.
of it. Maybe make passive income off of it.
Maybe not right now,
Yeah.
but
Even that would be like...
you'd be better off just shoving it in your mattress.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think that people have a really skewed idea of like what kind of money that is and just how fast it'll go
Right.
away. I mean, think about the fact that, you make the money you make now and you don't have any money.
Yeah. Like, where did it all go?
It's just
Right.
disappearing.
Right.
Right?
My W-2 comes and I'm like, I didn't make that much money.
No way I made
No way
that.
I made that much money. There's that cost. Where did it all go?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have your house and your cars and
Right.
you're still alive and,
Yeah.
it's just
Groceries and
yeah, you just can't see the thing. Like
Right.
I don't have a $50,000 MacGuffin sitting out in the driveway
Right.
that I can point to and say that was that much money.
Right.
Yeah. I remember a while back there was this guy, I think it was in Australia, who he something happened to him and he was pronounced dead and they were able to resuscitate him. So he effectively came back to life and he went and played a scratcher and he won a car. Off
Oh,
the
yeah, I've
scratcher.
seen that before, yeah.
And so the news got him, and they were like, doing a story on him, and they had him, I guess, for some B-roll to scratch off another scratcher.
Yeah.
And then he won $250,000. And he just look on his face is like, what the fuck is happening?
Like, that would just be like God being like, yep, that was my bad. So,
yeah, whoop, sorry,
yeah,
man.
oopsie daisy.
Throw a couple wins
Yeah.
your way.
Looks like you need a couple wins there, buddy.
When so not this past weekend, but the weekend before, We were up in Minnesota, and we met some of Mary's classmates at like a sports bar kind of thing up there. Mm-hmm. And we were talking to them, and she asked us if we had ever played pull tabs before. And we were like, no, like we don't even know what that is.
No.
And she was like, oh, well, let me go get some. And she goes, like, there's like this vendor over in the side on the corner of the bar where you can buy these things called pull tabs. And they're like these little, like 3x3 cardboard little squares.
No.
And there's a tab, there's 3 tabs on them.
No.
You pull the tab back, and you see if you want any money. So it's just like a different kind of, like, we have scratch-offs. They have scratch-offs up there, too.
Yeah.
But they have pull tabs as well, which is like a different kind of lottery game.
Huh.
And the girl who got them was showing us how to play them. And she was like, so anyway, you pull this tab back, and you see if you want any money. And she pulls it back, and she won $250.
You're like, hey.
And I was like, oh, it's that easy.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't win anything.
Right.
But I thought it was really interesting that they had a different kind of like,
I've never heard of that
thing
before.
up there. Yeah.
I lived in Wisconsin, never heard of that before.
That was another thing. I was going to ask if you saw that while you were up there.
I don't really remember seeing that. That must be like a Minnesota thing.
Maybe. A little bit further Midwest.
Yeah.
You did see a lot of snow up in Wisconsin, though, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. How much did y'all get while you were up there?
It wasn't necessarily too much. I mean, I think the most that we got was like 16 inches, like at one time.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's pretty mild for kind of what they are accustomed to.
That's crazy.
Especially where we lived, which was in Kenosha.
Yeah.
Which was like, we were like 3 blocks from the lake.
Yeah. So very, very cold, very windy.
Right. And we lived in this old house that had like no insulation.
Oh, yeah.
So like the wind would just cut right through the house. So like there was no point in even the house being there.
Yeah,
I might as well have been laying in the
yard. Like in a tent. You know what I remember about your house up there was you had the wall next to the stairs, like to go upstairs.
Like all that,
like what was that shit coming out of the walls?
I don't know.
Like, you know how like in people's houses they have that popcorn ceiling, like, or the drop ceiling,
Right.
whatever it is. It was that texture, but it was on the wall.
And it was real long.
It was real long, like
Right.
like 1.5 inches or so, like far too much.
It was like curled over like fingers.
Yeah. And we were trying to drag that fucking mattress up the stairs next to this Velcro wall. After an 18-hour drive.
Ugh.
That was so bad.
I remember when we moved up there, and that whole summer I was like, oh, it's pretty mild up here, like comparatively to like kind of what we get. Like it was like highs of like the high 70s. I was like, oh, that's not bad. Like there's no humidity.
Yeah.
Like you get that nice breeze coming off the lake. And like, cause when we moved in that house, when we rented it, it was late August, early September. So it had started cooling down up there some.
But it was probably as warm as it was going to ever get.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, and when we started renting the house, the guy's like, well, there's no central air. And I was like, oh, well, I can work with that. Like the summer's not too bad here so far. And then, so the next summer, like after, like we had been there all winter, we had no central heating either.
Ooh.
So it was like all space heaters. Like we just moved the space heaters around to the room that we were in. And so like they had like a heat wave that summer and it was like 100 degrees for like 30 days in a row.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is this? What is this place?
And I just remember, like, the guy that we were renting the house from, like, we're like, dude, you have to do something. Like, it is too hot. Like, we can't, like, come look at the AC unit. Do something, right?
How did Buddy live?
He lived downstairs, like, in the
crawl space?
In the crawl, like, the house was very old. And so, like, downstairs was, like, this concrete basement. It wasn't finished or anything.
Yeah.
And it was very just kind of bare bones.
I remember not being able to stand up in it.
Right. It was the ceiling was very low.
Yeah.
And so he kind of stayed down there because it was like 30 degrees cooler down there.
Yeah.
So in the house, it was like 85 degrees.
Yeah.
And then down in the basement, it would be like 60. So that's kind of where he was at the whole time. And so the dude ended up like showing up and like he came to our back door and just dropped off this like ancient window unit.
Yeah.
And we were just like, oh fuck. So we just took it upstairs and we stuck it in the window of the of our bedroom.
Yeah.
And so we plugged it in and it's just like this it's like spitting out water. It's so wet and like clammy in there, but it's like the only cool
like a humidifier.
It's like the only cool place in the entire house.
Yeah.
So like we close the door and we're just like laying on the bed. It's like all it's like wet.
Ew. Just dewy.
So then when you like open the door, it's like the gates of hell. It's like like that, and so you like step out into this like sauna and you're all wet.
God, that sounds fucking miserable.
And so we didn't put like anything up under the fucking thing, so it's like dripping onto the floor. And like we happen to walk downstairs like into the dining room. We look up and there's this massive fucking stain.
Oh no.
And I was like, fuck.
Oh no.
And so we just took some white paint. We're like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, fuck you for real.
So, and
He
like,
had to know what it was like in that fucking house.
oh yeah.
He knew.
So like we ended up, it was that way for like a month or so. And then like we were poor. Like we had no money.
Yeah.
Because I was an E3 at that time. Like I don't pay you shit.
Yeah. What were you making hourly? Or salary? What was your year?
I
Like
was
36,
I was
35?
bringing home $900 every 2 weeks.
900. That's your gross.
That was after taxes.
That was after taxes.
That was after taxes with my housing allowance.
Yeah. Oof.
So I was like making no money.
Yeah.
So like, and we're also paying for like her to go to work, me to drive from where we're at back down to the base, which is like 45 minutes away, like round, like one way.
Yeah.
It's like an hour and a half round trip. Because everything that was closer to there was going to be like an extra $500 a month in rent. That's why we rented so far away. And so like we ended up like, so we saved up some money and Allison found this like massive window unit on Craigslist. And so it was like this 100-pound like window unit.
Yeah.
Massive, like bigger than the one mom and dad have.
Oh, really?
In the kitchen. Yeah, it was huge. And so I had taken leave or something. So I was essentially on PTO for that day because I just had some that I was going to burn. I was like, there's no reason for me to go up to this stupid base. There's nothing for me up there for me to do anyway. And so she tells the guy, well, we're going to purchase this. It says Racine, so it's the next town over. So I drive up to go get it, and it's massive. And so I finally get it shoved in the backseat of this stupid Avenger. And so,
the Avenger, yeah.
And so I get it back to the house, and I grab it, and the bottom of the stupid thing is just like sheet metal.
Yeah.
And so it's just like this bare sheet metal, and like my hands are slipping.
Yeah, because you can't really get
Because I can't get a grip on it, and so it's just cutting the shit out of my hand. I'm bleeding everywhere.
It's like, I just want to be fucking cool.
So, but at this point, I'm mad.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Like,
of course.
I'm mad. I'm like, fuck it. Like, it's going in this house.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore. And so, like, I'm just sweaty.
Yeah.
It's hot outside.
You're bleeding.
I'm bleeding everywhere. And so
You're
I
poor.
I'm poor. So I finally get this stupid thing in the window, and the window is like a good 8 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
Right? Because we get like steps that go up and then you go in the house. So like I like get it in the window. I have to like get the window up, and it's this massive old window.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like trying to balance the thing and like slam the window on it to get it jammed in there so I can go out and get the struts or whatever put up underneath it. So it's like tilting out the back of the window the whole time.
Like straining the wall. You just see the paint separating.
And I remember like I finally got it in the window, and like this unit was so big it was like 85 to like 90 degrees in like the main floor of the house, and it cooled it all the way down to like 65.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
that's how
dude,
big
yeah.
this window unit was.
A good window unit will it'll just about freeze you out.
Right.
Yeah, but they draw so much power.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they just suck it
Yeah,
right
we didn't care at that point.
They just suck it right out of the grid.
Right.
Like you plug it up and everybody's lights go off.
Right. We had like a month left on the rent.
Yeah.
So I was like, when they send us the power bill, we just won't pay it. Because we're moving anyway.
We just walk. You know, it's always interesting to think back on like those first steps outside of the nest.
It's hard.
It is hard. It's and you look back on it and you're like, it's like at the time I knew that I was struggling, but I didn't realize like comparatively how much I was struggling.
Right.
I think you struggled a bit more than I did, but I still struggled a little bit myself.
You mean you weren't eating bread that just said white on the front of it and it'd crumble and disintegrate when you made a sandwich with it?
It just come in a white bag with a barcode that says bread. I mean, we moved into that apartment over there in Villarica. It was me and Daniel and the girl I was dating at the time, and it wasn't a terrible apartment. It wasn't a bad place to live. It was.
Oh, those are nice apartments over there.
I mean, it was,
as nice as apartments can be.
As nice as an apartment can be. And we had decent neighbors. Nobody ever really made a ruckus. We were the ones that made a ruckus.
Right.
We had a party one night and we were all singing karaoke at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and the upstairs neighbor was like, "We have a baby. Can you knock it off?"
You're like, "Oh fuck!"
I was like, "I am so sorry." Yes, we'll stop.
Yes, we will shut the fuck up now.
But I was working at the Mexican restaurant, and every bit of money that I made went to the rent, and it was like, or in utilities, and it was like it was like I'm gonna wash every single month. Can't save any money. Can't really do much anything. I was like, if there's any huge expenditure that comes up, I'm fucked. So it's like I gotta play a real fucking safe.
Yeah.
And I was driving the Impala at the time, and that thing was a fucking time bomb. You never knew what the fuck was gonna go wrong with that thing. But it was. All in all, it was a good experience. I do appreciate the lessons that I learned from everything involved that went on there, and I'll never forget. Towards the end of it, we started having this real bad problem with roaches, and our apartment was not dirty. We kept it clean.
Right.
Like we didn't keep dishes in the sink. We took the trash out all the time, but we were just constantly having roaches.
What the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, and we had they have a guy who will come and do like pest control,
right?
That the apartment complex pays, and he came and he put out poison all over the fucking kitchen.
Right.
It didn't matter. It was just fucking Roachtopia all the time. And it got to the point where we couldn't even keep like boxed food in the cupboards because the roaches would eat through the fucking like cardboard box.
You had like fucking Macho Man Randy Savage roaches.
I don't know what the fuck kind of roaches they were, but they were like, it was everywhere. It was all of them, from like the big fat cockroaches to like the little bitty guys. And they would they got into like 3 or 4 boxes of cereal, and we're like, what the fuck's happening here?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I was like, I'm out of here in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm moving on to greener pastures. Well, it turns out that the people up and to the left of us, they like lived in squalor.
Ugh.
And they paid out their rent through the end of the year and left. And I guess nobody ever came and checked on their unit.
No.
And it was just full of trash and feces in the toilet.
Ugh.
And just garbage everywhere, and like they had to like come and like hazmat and like clean it up. It was so bad.
Like Serve Pro.
Yeah, so it didn't matter how clean we kept our apartment because they'd just come through the walls and through the piping and everything, and it couldn't have been just our unit. It had to have been everybody in that in that building.
That's one of the reasons why I was so glad when I finally stopped living in a fucking apartment. I can't fucking do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to, wherever I move next, I'd like to move out of a neighborhood. I don't want to live in a neighborhood anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to do,
that,
like a subdivision. Like it's not.
I mean, I like my neighbors for the most part. Really, the only one I ever talked to is the one that lives right across the street.
Right.
And we had some happenings in the neighborhood not long ago. But I just don't want to live near people anymore.
Right.
The one thing that happened, it was kind of a breaking point for me, was I was going to take the trash out of that apartment, and our trash can, it was like rolled plastic, so like up towards the top of the trash can, it like rolled back, and there was like a lip.
No.
That went all the way around the trash can, and the trash bag was like suctioned in there, and so I was trying to get the trash bag out, and I went like this, and like I gave it a good shake, and just like 5,000 roaches fell out from underneath the lip of that trash can and fell on the floor. Ugh. And I'm like standing there looking at all these roaches just like scurrying around. And I was like, the only thing I can do is just fucking DDR on these roaches. And I just started stomping as many as I could. Like I was making roach wine.
Like that lady.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it sucked, man. It was.
Did you move back in the house after that?
No, I moved into. What did I do after that? I think I was over here after that. Because it wasn't that long ago. It was shortly after I met Mary.
Was it?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Because Mary came along like the last 3 weeks that I was in that apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It was such a long time ago. It's such a blur. You know when I knew Mary was the one? I came home from work one day, and she had cleaned my bedroom for me.
You're like, ah.
I was like, she's a good person.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the lady that I like.
Yeah. I think that Wisconsin was definitely, like my first year at Auburn, or my year at Auburn was definitely, it wasn't hard. I mean, it was difficult because it was like the first time, like not being around people that I knew, right?
Friends and family. Yeah.
Friends and family, right? So really the only person that was constantly there was Allison. Always came down to visit and everything.
Yeah.
But that one wasn't too bad. Kennesaw wasn't too bad either. But yeah, Wisconsin, whew, boy, that was a struggle.
Where were y'all living in Kennesaw? Were y'all living off of Wade Green Road?
Yeah, it was like Greenhouse Patio Drive, which if you go past the college there,
yeah,
like going down that side road, and then you make a right, and there's like all those apartment complexes down there. It was the first one on the right there, which I don't remember what the name of that apartment complex is, but
I remember that's where y'all were living when you got Buddy.
Right.
Because I remember coming over there and you had him, he was a puppy.
Right.
And I also remember that he had this bone that he really liked, but because he chewed it and slobbered on it on the carpet, it had carpet fibers all over it. It was
real sharp on the end.
It was like this hairy shank. He fucking loved that thing. It was so nasty.
He stabbed me a couple of times with that stupid thing.
Lex and Lola have a couple like that. We get them those Nyla bones or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they'll if pieces come off, they're teeny tiny little pieces,
right,
and they can pass them. Otherwise, they might splinter like a rawhide bone or something. Right. And they'll chew the end of it into like a fine point.
No.
And then they'll carry it around, and they're walking around your fucking shins.
Yeah.
And you're like, get that fucking thing away from me.
Stabbing you in your femoral artery with it. Yeah, it's always it's interesting when you first move out of the nest, because you learn a lot of stuff really quickly.
Yeah, real fast.
Real fast.
Real fucking fast.
Yeah, life comes at you fast, kid.
Yeah, it does. And it doesn't stop. It's just accosting you at every turn.
Yeah, you don't realize how good you got it when you're a kid.
Nope. And no one can ever tell you, because they told me all the time.
Right.
I watched you move out of the house in Chicago, and I was like, nah, I can do it.
Right.
Oh, no. I don't have skills. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a struggle at times. It was a big fucking struggle at times, but I wouldn't really change anything that ever happened. There's been some stuff in my life that really fucking sucked.
No,
and it sucked to deal with, and it sucked to go through. But I feel that I feel like your experiences and the struggles that you have make you, they kind of shape you into who you become.
Right.
And I'm not saying that I'm like the perfect person. No, I'm just saying that I'm happy where I'm at.
Right. And also too, if you don't have difficult times to go through like that, then when times do get hard, if you've never experienced those sorts of things before, it's going to be exponentially harder.
Yeah. Well, you don't really have any frame of reference.
Right.
I mean, think about like, with little kids, well, especially like around Autumn's age,
Right.
we like have breakdowns and meltdowns at like the slightest inconvenience.
Because it is the worst thing they've ever experienced.
Yeah, up until now, that's the worst thing they've ever experienced. Yeah.
It was like, I remember like being like nervous because you get like a bad grade on a test or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to answer for this.
Yeah. I very quickly got rid of that fear.
Yeah.
I was like, I experienced this enough times.
Right. Whereas like now, it's like if I was to make a bad grade on something, I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not in school anymore. Now you're just worried about fucking up at your job.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I really need this job so I can continue to pay these fucking bills.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Hulu needs their money. I gotta keep working. Speaking of Autumn, the other night over at Mama's house, she asked me if Santa Claus was going to bring me anything, and I didn't. I almost like as a knee jerk reaction, I was like, I'm too old for Santa,
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I don't know what to say to her because I don't want to like take away. I don't know if she understands that there's a point where Santa doesn't come anymore.
Right.
I was like, I don't want to start that snowball.
Right.
I was like, I don't know. I've been good this year.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. And she went on. But I was like, it got me thinking, like, how are you going to approach that when the time comes?
I think the time always comes for like, I'm going to do like Mom and Dad did and be like, as soon as I hear you say he's not real,
He's not coming.
he's not coming no more.
Yeah.
It's like, I was way past the age. Like, I was like 18.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not uttering that
Yeah,
because as
I
soon
still
as I
get
do,
free things.
I still get free things. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to play this game. Like, I'm no fucking dummy. All
Yeah.
right. So I think it's just one of those deals. Like, eventually, you
Yeah.
just know. I mean, I knew when I was like 9. I was like, there's no Santa Claus. This isn't real.
Yeah. Well, you start getting enough, I think, life experiences, and you start to realize that there's no real magic in the world.
Right. Exactly.
You're like, oh no, things, you can measure everything, and Santa
Right.
Claus doesn't exist.
Right. Exactly. It's like, I've seen pictures of the North Pole.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just penguins.
Yeah. I saw a polar bear rip apart a seal.
Yeah. That was not magical.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those deals. Like, I'll tell her, I'll be like, as soon as I hear you say it, Santa's not coming no more.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then when you move out of my house, then he's not coming either.
Yeah. He's not.
You can buy your own presents and put them on the there from
It
Santa
makes you
if
feel
want,
better.
But I mean, that's probably how I'll approach it. I'm assuming that's probably how I'll do it. But she's pretty perceptive. I mean,
She's pretty quick.
yeah, she was very worried this year because she's been getting a bit of an attitude.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Yeah.
So, and she's gotten in trouble a couple times, and she told me and she told Alice, and we were in the car going to Mama's, and she said, "I'm worried."
Yeah.
And we're like, "Well, what are you worried for?" And she's like, She's like, "I've been getting in trouble a lot lately." She's like, "What if Santa doesn't bring me anything?"
At least she's introspective.
Right. Well, she asked a really hard question the other day because she ended up getting a big present from Santa this year.
Yeah.
And so, I told her because she was like, well, Santa only brought me one thing. And I was like, well, it was big. It was like, and you should be very appreciative that you got what you got.
Yeah.
And she said, well, why didn't Santa bring all the other kids big presents? I was like, uh-oh.
Oh no.
And I was like, kind of quickly changed the subject.
You were like, oh, because those kids are bad.
Because they're shitty kids with shitty parents. No, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I don't know how to answer this right now.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I was like, some kids don't get good presents.
Yeah,
Like,
there's really no good answer. It's
Yeah.
like, so that's just how sometimes it sucks for kids, or like maybe he
Right.
likes you more, or like.
And then, me and Allison we've had that discussion before about whether or not, whoever like gets her a big present, like if Mom and Dad were to get her a big present, or like if we were to get her a big present, Like, should it be from the person who got it for her, or should it be from Santa?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe moving forward, like I'll have to talk with Allison about it, of course, but whoever gets it should probably just give it to her and then let Santa bring something maybe a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
That way, you know, there isn't this confusion about why did Santa bring me something really nice when, you know, when she goes to school and asks her friends, oh, what did Santa bring you? And, you know, they didn't get something that's nice,
right, yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that either way, you know, there's going to be a very clear, you know, parity between what you're able to provide for your kid and what some other people can provide. Like there's you know, there's people who aren't going to be able to give as much, and people who are going to like get their kids like fucking cars and shit like that.
Right,
It's
exactly.
just how it's going to be.
Right.
So the question, you know, is, you know, do I, you know, does the big present come from me, and then my kid realizes that I had the ability to get big presents for them, and then they might expect that more.
Right.
Or does it come from Santa, who at this time they think is like this magical guy?
Right.
And it's like, oh, of course he can get me a big thing. My mom and dad, you know, they can only get me socks and shirts.
Right. I remember, like, as a kid, that's how I looked at it. Was like, mom and dad can get me these things, but then obviously, like, I'm relying on Santa. Like, I know Santa is going to pull through for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Show up and show out, Santa.
And so, like, that also does kind of add to some of the mystique, like, as a kid. Like, it was always fun as a kid, like, to be like, oh, Santa's coming. Like, it's a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you have, like, all these, like, shitty kids. There's, like, Santa's not real.
And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah. It's like, well, I'm sorry that Santa didn't bring you anything.
Yeah.
But
I guess you suck.
I guess you're a piece of shit. You know, but it was always fun. Like, and I think it's fun for me as a parent to kind of play into it, you know.
And it's probably fun to see her reaction.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very fun to see her reaction when she gets up and she sees the big present, and then she's very excited about it.
Is she an early riser on Christmas morning?
You know, she got up around 8 o'clock.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, but she got up in the middle of the night. And then, of course, like the way our house is like if we come out of her bedroom, because she usually gets up like once a night to go to the bathroom, like the bathroom looks right at where the present was sitting. So, of course, she saw it, right?
Oh, no, she saw it.
Yeah, she saw the present, and they were like, you have to go back to bed because it's like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Right?
I was always an early riser on Christmas. And, matter of fact, I was an early riser pretty much my whole life. Like, I never really, like, until I hit, like, teenage years.
Right.
And then I could sleep till 2 p.m. and it was no big deal.
Right.
But I remember, like, I hated sleeping as a kid. I fucking hated it. And I remember...
You're going to miss out on something.
Yeah. I remember getting up at, like, 3 o'clock in the morning and going down to Dad, who's trying to sleep because he has to work in the morning, and be like, Dad. And he'd be like, what? I'm like, is it morning yet?
It's like, fuck off.
It's fucking dark outside.
Like, fuck
He'd
off.
just be, poor Dad.
Yeah.
He'd just
He's like, I have to get up in an hour. Like, get the fuck away from me.
He's just like, no, Gary, go back to bed. If it
Right.
had been me, I'd be like, get the fuck out of my bedroom.
And Dad's he's not a very heavy sleeper anyway, so he probably didn't go back to sleep after that.
I probably ruined it for Dad several times. My bad, Dad. But I remember, did I ever tell the story on the podcast about how I thought I saw Santa one time?
Maybe, but you should probably tell it again for the Christmas episode.
Yes, I'll try and run through this real quick. So Mom and Dad, their thing to like keep us in bed was to tell us that if we saw Santa or if he saw us, like while he was setting out presents, then he would never come back.
Right.
And so we were like, fuck, we better stay in bed. So that was their whole thing. And it worked, for the most part. Until I was probably 9 or 10.
No. We were in the house that Mom and Dad are in now, right?
Yeah, we were in that house already. And I was like, it was like 4:30. And I was like, man, I don't know. I was like, I really want to go down there. I want to see my stuff. I was like, but I'm pretty sure it's a little too early. Like, he might not be here. What if he comes through the chimney while I'm down there?
Right.
I was like, I'm going to fuck this up. I'm going to fuck it up for everybody. I got 2 brothers here. Didn't do anything wrong. And finally, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going down there.
Yeah.
And so I went downstairs, and like the living room, like from our bedrooms to the living room, you have to walk through like this foyer, and then you kind of come out, and then on the right is the living room. And so I came down, I went to turn right into the living room, and all the lights are off. And I see, by the fucking chimney, a silhouette of a man. And I was like, God damn it. And it's just completely still looking at me. And I'm just looking at it, and my heart is just in my fucking stomach. And I was like, I can't believe I ruined Christmas.
You're like, it actually happened.
I was like, I can't fucking believe it. And I probably stood there, like, in the darkness for like an hour. Because it's super early in the morning. Like, there's no sunlight out. And around this time of year, the sun doesn't come out till like,
7 o'clock.
Much later. Well, a lot of time passed, and finally my eyes adjusted to the darkness, and I could see that it was a life-size cardboard cutout of Dr. Evil that you got for Christmas. And I was like, oh, it's fucking Dr. Okay. And I just went into that. I started playing with my toys. But for a while there, I just had like all these thoughts, like, oh my God, I ruined Christmas and Santa's right there. And it's like, I'm going to be in so much trouble. He's going to tell Mom and Dad.
I remember as a kid, like the first year that we moved into that house, I was kind of like on the cusp of being like, is Santa real?
Yeah.
Like, is he really real? Like, I was probably maybe a little bit too old to be asking that question, but up until that point, he'd never disappointed.
Yeah.
So who am I to really question whether or not Santa's real or not? And where my bedroom is at in that house is right above the living room.
Right above it, yeah.
So anything that happens in that living room, you hear it. Mm-hmm. So I remember, like, I was tossing and turning. I could not go to sleep. And all of a sudden, I hear a commotion in the living room. And I was like, oh, my God.
That's fucking Santa.
That's Santa Claus. I remember, like, laying there. I was like,
he's down there. Oh, my God. Yeah, that's I'm actually interested, like, what does the subfloor look like in your old bedroom? Because it's got to be fucking thin.
Yeah, super thin.
Yeah. Like, if people are like, if you're sitting in the living room and people are walking around upstairs in Wesley's old bedroom, you can see the floor, depressing, like, while they're walking around.
Yeah, it's probably super dangerous.
Yeah.
And so, in that room is a very odd room. Because that room has the exact same layout and is the exact same size, almost
as the living room.
Yeah. It's just they stacked it right on top of the other one.
It's just duplicated on the top. And then you had your little hidey hole.
Yep. Yeah, that house has got a lot of crazy. It's a very odd house.
It is an odd house.
It's an odd house.
They kind of just built it as they went along, it seems.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I remember about my room in that old house is before Mom and Dad put the vinyl siding around, because it used to just be those like wooden slats all the way around. I would always get fucking owls in the walls.
I remember that, yeah.
And there were so many nights where the owl, I would hear him like fucking around in his owl apartment that he made in the wall. And I'd bang on the wall and I'd hear him fly out. Yeah. And I'd always hear him come back because it made this huge fucking commotion. I was like, get the fuck off the wall. I'm trying to sleep.
You had a really shitty neighbor.
Yeah, he sucked. I hated that guy.
I remember one time, me and Dad had went outside because there was a woodpecker that was like sitting on you, like where your room was at, and like in the morning would like hammer the side of the house.
Yeah.
And it went on for like 2 or 3 days. And then Dad finally, he's like, where's your 20 gauge?
That's a fucking shotgun.
You remember where those 2 trees were at with the swing that was in between them?
Yeah.
Like, he took me out there and he said, now when that woodpecker flies out there, it's like, I'm going to shoot that son of a bitch. And that woodpecker came out, and it was one of those red-headed woodpeckers, which I think is illegal to shoot.
Yeah, I think so.
And he flew out of the house, and Dad fucking shot the fuck out of him, and he just dive-bombed, and we went back in the house.
Finally, some fucking peace. You can get away with some shit like that, in a remote neighborhood.
Oh yeah,
We, earlier I had mentioned we had some happenings in our neighborhood here. Several months ago, we heard gunshots. Like, we hear gunshots all around because it's, it's fucking Paulding County. It's, you're going to hear gunshots.
Right.
And usually we hear them in the neighborhood, but they're across the lake. There's like some fucking rednecks over there. They have built like a BMX track in their backyard. So we hear them shooting
a bunch of degenerates.
Yeah. But it's typically pretty quiet up here at the front of the neighborhood where we are. And so we heard these gunshots, and it was like right before we fell asleep. And I heard 5 gunshots go off, and then like 3 or 4 other shots go off. Mm-hmm. Like, it sounded like handguns to me.
Yeah.
And so, we were concerned. We were like, what the fuck was that? It was really close. I was like, it sounded like it was 20 feet away.
Yeah.
And so, we called the police, and they came out, and nothing really ever came of it. Well, then, about a week before we left to go to Italy, I was already asleep, and Mary woke me up because she heard machine gun fire, like an automatic pistol or something. Kind of, back that way where the first round of shots happened.
Yeah.
And we just happened to pull up our Ring camera in time to see this white Challenger come flying out of the neighborhood, leave the neighborhood. And so we were watching the camera for a little while, trying to debate, like, well, do we call the police? Because last time, nothing really ever came of it. Like, not even 2 minutes after that happened, police came into our neighborhood with their lights and sirens on.
Yeah.
And they went down that way, and they stopped in front of the house down there. And they were there for a good long while.
Down the main stretch right here?
In our neighborhood. So our road right here where the driveway connects. And they were there for a good while. And I ended up meeting with one of the police officers, and I told him, I was like, hey, I've got, footage of the car leaving. And I gave it to him and everything. And we found out later, because on Ring, they have like a neighborhood app where people can talk about what's going on or whatever. And we found out that a couple houses down, somebody's house down there got shot up. So somebody drove down here, fired 11 shots into their house, and then left the neighborhood.
Probably gang activity.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure which house it is that it happened at, because the house that I think it happened at, it would make sense if it happened at that house. But if it's the house next to that one, it's just like a family with 2 kids living
That's
there.
a bit more concerning.
That's more concerning because then that's just a random attack.
Right.
So, I would rather not happen at all.
Right.
But if it happened to the Rumpus house, then,
I understand.
I understand. But, yeah, it kind of put us on edge for a while, and it really got to Mary. Mary was very concerned about it.
No.
It was hard for her to sleep for a while, and she was like, like I said, this was right before we left for Italy, so we're about to leave the house, unoccupied for a long time, and so yeah, the next place I want to live, I want there to be
less people,
like nobody around.
Right.
That way, if I hear gunshots and it's not me shooting, then I'll know for a fact that I need to be concerned.
Right.
Not that it's just some redneck nearby.
Right. Yeah, we've kind of got the same situation. Not like that, but there's the drag that comes down just to get into our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like down the road there, like you make that you go past the where the church is and everything. You make that left to go down the road. There's right there on the corner, we have a bunch of rednecks that live right there.
Yeah.
And they've got like a long backyard.
Yeah.
Like it extends down into where our neighborhood is at. And so they sit tannerite down there and shoot at it. Yes, because we've been in the house and the whole house is shaking.
Oh
because
Jesus Christ.
Because they're back there with their I'm assuming probably like a 30-06 or something back there.
Some kind of hunting rifle.
Yeah, some type of hunting rifle. And they shoot all the time, which I don't really care that you're back there shooting. However, when you're shooting a tannerite and it's less than 200 yards from my house, I'm going to have a bit of an issue with it.
Not to mention, that utility easement that runs right through your neighborhood is a petroleum pipeline. So, I mean, I don't think that blowing up tannerite on the ground level is going to really mess it up, but it's still concerning.
Where their little shooting range is at, like, splits 2 subdivisions. So there's 2 subdivisions backed up against this shooting range that they've made that they're blowing tannerite up in.
Do you remember a couple of years back that video of those guys, those rednecks who were shooting? They were shooting at tannerite in the woods, and they had like some old lawnmower that they put tannerite in, and they shot it, and it blew up. And I don't know if it was the blade or just a chunk of the sheet metal off that lawnmower flew and hit that one guy and cut his leg off. It hit him like in mid-thigh and just sliced his shit right off. Because in the video is crazy. It's not particularly gory, but the guy shoots and he misses, and they take a couple of paces forward.
Oh.
And he shoots, and then they take a couple paces forward. And then when it blows up, one of the guy Corey goes, "Oh my God." And you hear the other guy go, "I blew my leg off."
I've seen, there's one video where they like stack this whole fridge full of tannerite and they shoot it, and like the door comes flying back at them, and they have to like
duck behind that tree.
They have to duck behind that tree.
Yeah, the door. It looks like something out of a fucking like cartoon. The door like flies through the air. Yeah. Like it doesn't tumble or anything. It just like, shoots like that.
It looks like something like out of like maybe like an Ed, and Eddie episode or something.
Yeah. You remember FPS Russia?
Yes.
There was a video he did a long time ago where he was shooting at tannerite, and he had like some old truck, like some S10, and he packed it full of tannerite and shot it, and the door flew off of that thing, and it flew past him going at like, I don't know, 70, 80 miles an hour, and it missed him by 3 feet, right past him. If that would have hit him, it would have been a fucking pink mist. He just went,
one of the craziest videos I've ever seen is this dude is shooting a Barrett 50 cal, and I don't know how far away the target is that he's shooting at, but it's, it's backed up against like a dirt mound.
Are they like out in the desert or something?
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And the guy shoots it, and it's like 1,000, 2,000, and then you see like something go like that right back by his head, and that where that bullet had ricocheted off that dirt mound, and like probably about that much.
Yeah,
went right back by his fucking head.
It knocked the headphones off his head. It knocked his earmuffs off. Imagine how fucking bad that would have been, because it's not flying straight anymore. It's like tumbling
it's
through
tumbling,
the
right.
Yeah, if that would have hit him in the head, that would have been fucking bad.
It's like putting my head down.
It would have fucking been like, who's the guy that smashes the watermelons?
Gallagher,
yeah. God almighty. You can't fuck around with that shit, man.
No.
That's what's so dangerous about fucking idiots with guns. Or, any idiot can go get a gun.
Right.
And if an idiot has a gun, that's just not a good not a good situation.
It's bad for everyone.
It's bad for everybody involved.
It's I see a lot of posts and stuff, especially like on Instagram and shit, where people are like out in the woods, like drinking and hunting. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Alcohol and guns don't mix.
Yeah.
You fucking dummy.
You fucking idiot. It's just fucking like, there's a difference between like getting drunk and going fishing.
Yeah.
And like getting drunk and then using a firearm.
Yeah. Big difference.
Usually, a very large difference.
Yeah, usually someone dies or gets their leg blown off.
You fucking dummy.
Well, let's bring in the podcast right quick. We're about an hour into this one. Hello and welcome, everybody. This is episode 51 of the Thicc Bois podcast. If at the time of recording this, we have episode 50 in the pocket.
We do.
It's recorded and edited. We just got to get it out to you guys, and we're going to do that as soon as we can.
Yes, we will. That's on me. That's not on Gary. So send all your hate mail to me.
Well, I mean, we've just been, everybody's been so busy.
Right.
I didn't expect to, like, aside from going to Minnesota or whatever, I didn't expect to be as busy this like holiday season as I was.
Right.
It really just, it seems like every year you just got more shit you got to do.
Right.
and things like that. And you've been busy as shit at work. You told me like worked like 60 hours last week.
Yeah, so I worked Monday through Thursday, and I logged like 53 hours.
That's a long 4 days.
It is.
That's a very long 4 days.
A lot of our customers at work that I'm working with, everybody is trying to get everything crammed in right before the new year.
Yeah.
So that way, when the new year does start, like their projects start up.
Yeah.
So like everybody's like trying to fucking cram everything into these. Like this upcoming week's gonna be a fucking shit show too.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna have. I think we're supposed to have Friday off, so I'm gonna have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and everybody's gonna want their shit done in those 3 days.
I know the last couple like places that I've worked for, around this time of year, everything got a little crazy because
Right.
it just so happens that, the last 3 companies that I worked for, kind of everything worked on contract basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody wanted everything done and, booked and invoiced before the new year.
Right.
Because they want to start the new year with like just a clean slate. So that just meant it was a mad fucking scramble. Like the last 2-3 weeks of December, you're just fucking balls to the wall trying to do as much as you can. But yes, we'll get episode 50 out. We were going to have a guest on this one, and it was, who'd been a repeated guest, our younger brother Aaron.
Yep.
I think he's on call today though.
Yeah.
So that's why he couldn't make it. But we'll get somebody in here.
Eventually.
There's another mic over there. We'll get someone. We'll find some crackhead wandering the street and bring him down here. Which is the best crack to do?
How many cracks do you do in a day?
That I couldn't imagine, like, because like the most I've ever done is weed.
No.
And I guess alcohol, if you want to consider that a drug.
I mean, more people die having consumed alcohol than weed.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. It's very true. I guess nicotine too, technically. But like, I just couldn't imagine holding a fucking crack pipe right here and being like, here we go.
Yeah. About to smoke this rock.
Because there's a first time, right?
Right.
You're not just suddenly 12 years into crack usage. There's one day you wake up, and that's the day you do crack the first time.
And like, nobody's like a recreational crack user.
Yeah, I'm a social crack user. Maybe at parties.
Yeah, nobody is like, oh, I just smoke a little crack on the weekends.
Yeah, usually just when I'm drinking.
Yeah. Oh, God. Speaking of crackheads.
Do you have a crackhead story?
Well.
Or a crackhead experience?
No, I was going to ask if I saw your Facebook post about the FBI.
Oh, yeah.
Taking in consideration that they right out said that they labeled the whole Hunter Biden laptop thing as misinformation when they knew damn well that it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's
I see the crackhead correlation. Okay, I got you. Okay. I was like, how did we
link that there?
Yeah. Yeah. So more of the Twitter expose has leaked.
It's really wild.
It's crazy seeing this shit, and seeing the people react to it is killing me, because some people are really understanding, like, oh my God, this is really bad.
Right.
This is so bad.
Right.
And then other people are like, well, fucking conservatives.
Right.
And it's like, this isn't a conservative liberal thing.
Right.
This you should see right now.
Right.
That we're not playing the same game that they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to me that it's gotten to the point where, like, the cultural divide is so bad in this country.
Yeah.
That you can't even, like, we can't all agree that this is not a good look.
Yeah.
Like, this is very bad. And, like, I think the thing that's most concerning, especially for me, the way that I feel about it, is that all of this is coming out and nothing's going to happen.
Nothing's going to happen.
Nothing's going to happen.
Like,
all the stuff that we, like, it's essentially all the stuff that they said that was going on.
Yeah, Alex Jones was right.
Right.
Like we said.
Right.
They keep proving him
it's
fucking
like
right.
all the conspiracy theorist stuff, like, it's true.
Yeah.
Like, it all came out. It all came out in the wash. And the craziest thing to me is that like, did you see the press release from the FBI?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So they said something after that
they
came
said
out. Okay.
they said that it's very disconcerting that conspiracy theorists are trying to besmirch the good name of the agency.
We have your fucking emails.
Right.
I read them.
Right.
Me, Gary Wright, read your FBI email where you incriminated yourself. I read that.
And somebody was just like there's gaslighting and then there's gaslighting.
Yeah.
Like that right there is wild to me.
It's, you know what, that kind of tells me that they've gotten away with it so long and they've gotten away with like bullshitting like that for so long that now that it's fucking staring everybody in the face, they still think they can do it.
Right. They still think that if they just say it,
Yeah.
then everybody will be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I was also reading something today too that was saying that it's not just the FBI. It's also the Department of Homeland Security.
Yep.
It's also the executive branch, and it was also the CIA.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there's no way the CIA's hands are
including
clean.
the Pentagon. Like the Pentagon was also involved in this.
Yeah, over the president's son's laptop.
Well, it's just not just that. I mean, they were.
That's one of the things.
One of the things, right?
Yeah.
And so not only that, but they also their whole thing was like, oh, they were going for like counterintelligence for like foreign nationals and all this stuff. Where it's like
election interference,
right?
And
So
like
they have emails that they had sent through like this portal that they were using, or
it was a one-way communication.
One-way communication
from FBI
to Twitter, and I think that the messages that got sent into that they disappeared. So there's no way to track. There's no way to trace them, right? Like there are emails or whatever, obviously.
Lots of screenshots.
But like that particular messaging through that portal, like there's really no way to keep like a register of like the messages.
They did that on purpose.
Right, exactly. They use the old Snapchat. We don't know what a database is.
Yeah. What was it they told us? If you don't have anything to hide, then what are you worried about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess that only works for us.
And so the craziest thing to me is what I saw was that some of these people that they were going after had like 10 or 12 followers.
Yeah.
They're just normal person. There's nobodies.
Yeah.
It wasn't like these large accounts.
As a matter of fact, one of my good friends on Twitter, regularly posted and interacted with one of the accounts who was targeted.
Really?
Yeah. Pissed Off Taker.
Yeah.
I don't know if you recognize that handle or whatever, but it was a guy who pretended to be the Undertaker, but like an angry version of the Undertaker, who constantly shit his pants. Every post that he made was about how he shit his pants, like at the mall or like in his car. That's all that guy did.
Yeah.
And the FBI went after him. What the fuck is going on?
It's just wild. It's the whole thing is it's one thing to be like I know that they're doing this.
Yeah.
And then there's another thing for the receipts to come in.
Yeah. The hard physical evidence.
Right. And I guess the wildest thing to me is like it's not being more talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those threads will release, and then it kind of seems like nobody talks about it. It was like people were like they expected it to be true for so long that when the stuff came out, they're like, well, yeah,
right,
of course, that makes total sense that that's what's going on.
Right, and I guess I just remember like when he bought it, it just seemed to me like I've said on the podcast before, they're just very flippant about like the whole like he bought it. Like
I think they got complacent with not having to hide anything.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I think that like they bought it, but I think that when he did buy it, they're like, well, nobody's going to do anything anyway, so what does it matter?
Yeah, because nobody ever does.
Nobody ever does anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of like the whole thought process, at least for them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like as a private citizen, like I think that heads should probably roll over this.
Absolutely.
Like,
did you see how many FBI people work at Twitter?
Yeah, it was like a team. It was like a team of 80.
Yeah,
wasn't it? Or no, that was the direct task force that was working with Twitter.
Yeah,
like people that worked at Twitter that are previous FBI agents.
Yeah, like they don't have any connections.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Was like I think one of like their top executives was like former CIA. And then the dude that was like their general counsel at Twitter
Yeah.
This dude, Mike Baker, I think I got that name right. He was like previous FBI, and that when Elon was sending out the files and stuff to, I think, Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi, the two reporters, it was going through this dude. Well, this dude was scrubbing those files to remove anything about the FBI from them.
Yeah.
Then gave it to Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss. But somehow they caught his ass and then fired him.
It just fucking, it's so fucking slimy.
Yeah.
It's just, ugh, God. It's just such a bad look for us as a nation.
It's just horrendous.
For the government. It makes,
Right.
it's a bad look for the government. And you know, like I said before, it was the way people are reacting to it, you know, and this isn't the only instance of it I've seen, but we know when something bad happens and it's a loss for both sides, you know, people will react like, I may have lost, but it's more important that they lost too.
Right.
It's like, you know, this is not good for anyone.
Right.
But you're celebrating because it's bad for them.
Right.
Never mind the fact that it's bad for you. It's like that division that the FBI has worked tirelessly to sow between us. You know, it's so deep and it's so prevalent.
Right.
That I don't know if it'll ever get better. I just don't see it ever getting any better. I don't see that ever being bridged.
Well, and they've also come out and they've said that, you know, it's not just Twitter. Like, it's Google and Facebook and Instagram and Cloudflare and Apple and all the major tech companies, Microsoft. Like, all of them are just, like, infested with the agencies just have their hands in them.
The fucking Fed, man.
Yeah. It's wild to me as somebody that I guess I would call myself a conspiracy theorist. But
well, when they start coming true, are you just a theorist?
Right, exactly. It's like
or a knowist?
Yeah.
It's conspiracy knowist.
Right. Well, it just kind of goes to show you, it's like, well, if, you know, we could probably start just counting back and looking at things that people are just like, something's not adding up here. Yeah. You probably look at JFK. They probably did kill him.
Yeah.
The government probably whacked his ass. And because there's a big conspiracy about that, where they like the magic bullet, or they found this it was like a completely perfect bullet they found on the gurney next to him.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's the bullet that killed him. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. The fact that, was it Lee Harvey Oswald?
No.
Or so they say. Just shot him from, you know, God, what was it, 80 yards?
Yeah, something like that.
While he was moving, it hit him twice.
Right. Yeah, no way.
Yeah, with a fucking bolt-action rifle?
No way.
There's not a fucking chance.
Nope.
Jerry Mitchell couldn't have done that shit.
No.
So I don't buy it for a fucking second.
Yeah.
All the first-hand stories of people, you know, saying that the shots came from behind the motorcade. I mean, it doesn't add up.
Right.
None of it adds up.
Right.
I mean, and you know, I've seen the video.
Right.
If you spend enough time in the seedy corners of the internet,
you'll
see some really fucked up things, and you know, the assassination of John F. Kennedy is one of the things I've seen, and it's just, you know, just from what I'm seeing, what I have seen, he was shot twice. The first shot, he bent over, and they say he couldn't bend over all the way because he had that back brace on or whatever. And then the next shot came through the side of his head. So if a guy is shooting, if you're shooting at a target that's 80 yards in front of you, and it's moving this way, you know, parallel to you or perpendicular to your line of sight, how are you going to shoot him through the back and then through the side of the head?
I guess it's like that movie Wanted, where you just curve the bullet.
He just How about the fucking Las Vegas shooting?
Right.
Have you ever, you know, it's, and here's the thing. When you start talking about stuff like that, like the Las Vegas shooting, I remember when that happened, I was very disturbed by that.
Yes.
Just because, you know, the sheer mass of, of victims, and I think it was like 50 dead, like 150 injured, and it was like, you know, it really kind of messed with me a little bit. I was just, it's such a tragedy. You know, that guy, there was never any indication that he was going to do something like that.
Nope.
The amount of bullets that were being fired, you know, none of the math adds up.
Nope.
Because of like the capacity of magazines that he had, how long it would have taken to reload some of those guns. It sounded like a belt-fed M240 or something.
Yes.
That's
exactly what it sounded like.
And like I'm not in the fucking, you know, military, or was never in the military, and I can tell you that those rifles that I saw from those pictures, those AR-15s or whatever it was he had with bump stock, get out of here, that fucking bump stock shit.
Yeah. You know how quickly you go through a 30-round magazine, like with an automatic rifle?
Pretty fucking, yeah, like nothing.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like the only way that he'd ever been able to get that many rounds off in that succession of time would have been something that's belt fed, and there was nothing in that room that was belt fed.
There wasn't a damn thing in that room. None of that made any sense.
Nope.
The fucking crime scene photos looks made up.
Yeah.
It looks so fucking made up. His brother, the guy's brother, he comes out and he's talking about how he, you know, he's just so confused that that my brother could do something like this. None of it makes sense. Yada yada. And then he starts coming forward a little too much, and he starts saying, "I'm telling you guys, this doesn't add up."
Mm-hmm.
Then they found 3 terabytes of child porn on his computer, his Windows 95 computer.
Right.
Which, I don't know if you guys remember Windows 95. You're not getting 3 terabytes of fucking nothing on that thing. So, I don't know. I'm just saying, it's with the Las Vegas shooting, and I'm not going to sit here and say that it wasn't a tragedy. And I'm not, you know, I'm not belittling the hurt and pain that the families of the victims went through. I'm not doing that. Of course, it's awful, but I don't think one man did that to your family.
No,
I think the FBI did that to your family.
Yeah, I think for a fact that the government. Once again, I'm getting ready to go here. I don't think that the government really cares about human pain nor suffering as long as they get to push their agenda. And they're willing to do whatever it needs to be done to the general population in order for them to progress whatever it is that they're trying to progress.
Well, what came out of the Las Vegas shooting? What got banned? Bump stocks.
Right.
Because, you know, you can't, they will take away everything they can. They will try everything they can try to disarm you.
Right.
Just shy of coming and beating down your door and taking your gun, which they do that with the
ATF,
the no-knock warrants and the red flag laws and all that stuff. Donald fucking Trump himself said, I heard him say it.
Yeah.
Take the guns first, ask questions later.
Right.
And he's supposed to be this bastion of the Second Amendment, you fucking conservative idiots.
Right. No. Hey, you fucking morons.
You fucking morons. It's just it's really irritating.
Right.
When you get these people who can't decide if they want to be a conservative or if they want to be pro 2A.
Right.
Because let me tell you right now,
you got to make a choice.
You have to make a choice between those things. You cannot be a conservative and be pro 2A. You can't do it.
Right.
Because if you were actually pro 2A, you wouldn't be conservative.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, it's the thing, especially the thing, too, is like with the current Republican regime, is that it's the Democrats have made it very obvious that they want to take your guns away from you.
Yeah.
The Republicans do this thing where they kind of limp wrist it. And they say,
kind of pussyfoot around.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, we tried to make sure that your Second Amendment rights were taken care of and all this bullshit. And it's like, but they don't fight at all for any of it. They just let them just railroad it. Like, they don't give a fuck. And there's nobody up there that, Democrats included, for the people that they said that they represent, because they don't represent them either.
No.
They're up there. Did you see the whole Zelensky thing where he went up there and they were flying the fucking Ukrainian flag
behind him?
Yeah.
And he asked for more money.
Right.
And they applauded and gave it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are we doing?
What are we doing?
Like
what's happening?
What is happening?
What's going on? You are so fervently trying to take away our ability to defend ourselves.
Right.
That is happening. Don't kid yourself. That's happening.
Right.
And then you're giving away our money to this proxy war.
Right. The only thing that I can think is that it's just this giant money laundering scheme.
It's certainly set up to look that way. It certainly would seem.
Yeah. That's the only thing I can come up with.
You know, the tricky thing about it is, you know, I don't think that Putin started this war because I think that Putin started the war. Let me say that. Let me rephrase what I'm saying. Putin invaded Ukraine and he started a war.
Right.
He did that. But I think that a lot of interested parties said, hey, I can use this to my advantage.
Exactly.
And then they started using it to their advantage. Right. As far as Zelensky goes, I think that he is trying to save his country from being railroaded.
I think that's initially what he started out doing, but I think that now he understands that he's going to get a bunch of money.
Well, yeah, that possibly. But I think that I think that Congress is kind of pulling the wool over his eyes too. I think that they're making this big show about being his best bud,
right,
and giving him all this money because once Russia's out of there and Ukraine owes us, they're going to say, "Hey, remember how we helped you?
No,
it's time for you to help us." By the way, me, Mr. President, my son kind of has a little bit of dealings with, you know, your country.
Right.
So, what do you say we work together? I don't know. It's just all, I'm just saying.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right. Well, and, you know, I think history would indicate that us giving all these weapons that there is no chain of custody on. That
just airdropping crates of weapons
essentially
into a war zone.
Yeah, like you think that they're all going to the Ukrainians? You don't think that there's some interested parties involved that are probably selling them on the black market?
Did we just give somebody back to Russia?
Yeah,
who, you know, basically majored in that?
The merchant of death. Yeah,
the world's like most wanted arms dealer.
Right.
Yeah, they have him back now.
Right.
Who did we get again? Oh yeah, WNBA player.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I just the whole thing just it reeks of just
it reeks.
It reeks of just hand wavy, just
backstabbing,
yeah. It's disgusting behavior by all parties involved. Yeah. If anything, the U.S. should be imploring both sides to please come to some type of agreement.
Yeah.
So that this doesn't progress to some type of nuclear war.
Yeah.
Because
nobody's going to win.
Right. Because nobody's going to win that.
Yeah.
It's like, and Zelensky should be doing the same thing, and being like, he should make a hard stand, of course. Be like, I'm not going to give you anything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for the interest of everyone involved, so that we can stop this senseless bloodshed.
I won't follow you back across your border.
Right. I won't follow you back across your border. If you go back home, we can stop this.
Yeah.
And we'll just act as if it never happened.
Yeah. That's really the best outcome.
Right.
I mean, all the atrocities that have happened and all the bloodshed and everything, all the money waste and everything, the best possible thing that can happen is everybody goes home and we just pretend that it didn't happen.
Right.
But that's not where this is headed.
No. And we're also running a very big risk of this whole like damning Russia so fervently that we can't separate their government from their people.
Yeah. And
so we're just damning all of Russia.
Yeah.
And we're just going to run them straight into the arms of China.
Yeah. Absolutely. There was 2 Russian defectors that they caught over in Australia, in Alaska. They crossed the Bering Strait where people fucking crabfish.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever seen like Deadliest Catch and what those waves are like out there. But they crossed that fucking sea in a dinghy, like a little bass boat, to get away from it. You know, that doesn't sound like somebody who was willing to give their life for their country.
Right.
That sounds like somebody who says, this shit's getting out of hand, I'm out of here.
Right. Well, it's the same thing with, you know, you see that too with people that come from mainland China.
Yeah.
That a lot of them, that's a very totalitarian rule, and they're very iron-fisted with the way that they handle their population.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, when they leave there, they're like, I don't ever want to go back over there.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, and I'm certainly not stating that like we are this
golden utopia,
utopia of freedoms and all that shit, because we're not.
That's what we're telling everybody.
Right. That's what we're telling it. We're exporting like McDonald's and apple pie and freedom and then you get over here and that's not at all what this is.
Yeah.
But I guess
like what color do you want the boot to be when it's on your neck?
Right. I guess I'm still holding out for the fact like we could get this thing turned around. It would take a very long time to do so, because you can't. It's like trying to like turn a warship. You can't do it on a dime.
Yeah.
Like it's going to take a very long time to do it. But you have to get enough people to kind of wake up to the fact that our government is
it's just no better way to say it.
Is essentially trying to conquer and divide. Like they want to divide into two parties and then chew through one side, and then you have this other side that essentially has been acting as the main chick.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
like whereas like the other side's like the side piece that gets beat on and shit. And then eventually that one goes away. Well, now all the ire is going to be pointed at the other side. Mm-hmm. So,
if you consider, what does a government want? A government wants a population that's easy to control.
Right.
And a well-informed, well-armed population is not easy to control.
No.
That doesn't mean that they're out of hand.
No. We're
out of hand right now.
Right.
Because everybody's scared and they're misinformed. They don't know what's true. They don't know. They're so so focused on all this crazy shit that's happening that we're finding out that the FBI has been fucking us in the butt. And we're like, I don't have time to deal with that. Right. It's just I got something else going on over here. It's at the very least what we're seeing right now is a lot of people are being vindicated with even the crazy conspiracy theories that they've made, and also we're seeing a lot of hard evidence that the government is exactly as shitty as we thought they were.
Right, exactly.
Now, whether or not anything at all ever happens about it remains to be seen, but if I was a betting man, I would say probably nothing.
Yeah.
Probably nothing happens.
Yeah, if I had to take a guess, I would say there probably nothing's ever going to come of it, and this will continue to proceed forward as intended.
Yeah.
And that's really shitty. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish that something, that they would bring people in front of Congress and then people would be hauled off in cuffs.
Yeah.
Because that's what should happen. But it's never happened before, and it's not going to start happening now.
The thing that they were all supposed to keep each other in check and make sure nobody was doing anything wrong.
No, that's not.
That's not what they're doing. They're just all sucking each other's cocks.
Right.
They're just in a big cock-sucking circle.
Right. And, I think for the longest time that, they, not saying that you couldn't, but you certainly could. You could throw Trump in jail for some of the shit that he's done. Well, you could also do that for every other person sitting in Congress and in the Senate and anybody else who's ever been president. Because
like the last 10 presidents.
Right.
Yeah.
They've all committed war crimes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, technically you could do that. They just happened to be lucky that they were the president of the most powerful country on the earth. Yeah. Because if that was not the case, they would have had the same thing happen to them that happened to Saddam Hussein. Or the dude over there in fucking Yemen, where they shoved a knife up his ass.
Oh, Gaddafi. Yeah. Yeah. They stabbed him in the butt to death.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about treating your leaders that way. Like, you might be in, like, this presidential palace, but if it comes down to it...
I'll rape you with a knife.
I'll stick a knife in your butthole. That can happen to you.
That's not off the table.
What is it they used to do in South Africa where they'd hang a tire around your neck and fill it with gasoline and light it on fire?
Oh, yeah. Whew. What a way to go.
Yeah, what an awful fucking way. It melts to your chest and everything.
Wasn't there a movie that was it Sicario?
Oh man, it's been so long since
Yeah,
I've seen Sicario.
that was a great movie.
That is a great movie.
That's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Like that's probably in my top 10.
That is such a cathartic movie.
Oh yeah.
It's like Catharsis the movie.
Oh, yeah.
You're watching it and just like, fuck yeah, fuck yeah. Turned into a fucking animal watching that movie.
I specifically remember that part of that movie because they had a bullwhip. They had this dude, they had him like in a chair, and I think they had been whipping him with this bullwhip.
Yeah.
And like just in the chest and the face, and then like he had an eyeball that was like hanging out and shit.
Yeah.
Because he had done something to the, do they call it a Don? It's essentially a Don.
Yeah. It's like the cartel version of a Don.
Yeah, right. So, and at the end of it, they shoved a tire on him and then poured a bunch of gasoline on him, lit a match, and threw it on him.
Yeah.
And they had people with like sticks. And so he was like screaming, like running around, and they're like poking that tire with the stick so he can't get away.
Oh my God. Yeah, see, that should be televised.
Yeah.
The next time we find out that like a president did something really fucked up,
Yeah.
that should be televised. Why hasn't anybody been locked up for the Epstein Island thing? Why has no one been arrested?
Well,
Not
Ghislaine Maxwell
one
got
person.
arrested.
Well, fucking, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Who is she?
Yeah, right. Well, also, too, so, and I don't know if I stated this on the last podcast or not, apparently her and Epstein are the only two people who have ever been arrested for sex trafficking to no one.
Yeah. How did they do it?
Yeah.
Overhead was real low.
The whole Epstein thing to me is so wild because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, what was the end game? What was the end game of getting all these very rich and famous people, including scientists and actors and actresses,
presidents and the royal
presidents
family.
and the royal family, getting them all wrapped up in this pedophilic
Satan cult thing.
Satan cult thing?
Yeah.
Like number one, nobody can point out where he got his money from,
Yeah.
which automatically to me, that some alarm bells go off there.
Yeah.
Right? So the only thing that I can think is that I've heard other people state this too, is that he was a Fed.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that would make sense.
He was a great man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that would make sense.
They
is
were
that,
using him to create leverage.
Right.
And you want to tell me that little black book is not the leverage to end all leverage?
Right.
Everybody's name is in that fucking book.
Right.
Everybody. So, you better stay in line.
Right. I mean, it just seems to me like the best way for them to kind of keep everybody in line is to put you in a very compromising situation.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh, like you want to try to help people? You actually want to try to do the right thing?
Yeah.
And not let the deep state run everything?
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, what if we let this little video out of you fucking a 12-year-old?
Yeah.
How about we do that? Would you like for us to do that? Because we can do that.
I mean, you know, it's really concerning that
So many people fuck children.
Well, yeah, that is super concerning. But it's like just the fact that nothing ever happens.
Right.
Nothing ever happens.
No.
It's so frustrating. And you're just like, every time that there's, you know, like, I remember when they first like announced or whatever, it came out that he was arrested and why and everything. I remember thinking to myself like, oh, they're gonna off that guy.
Right.
Like that was my first thought. I was like, they're gonna get rid of him, yeah, before he can squawk. And when they were like, oh, he was found hung in his jail cell. Of course he was.
Right.
Like what?
Right. Did you ever see the dude that was his cellmate? Was an he was an ex-cop.
Yeah.
Who got in trouble for being like, he was a hitman for the mob.
Of course he
There was also a cop. And the dude's fucking jacked. And he's like 6'4" and weighs like 260 pounds.
Yeah.
So you tell me.
They just stuck him in there with that guy.
Right. And
What are you in for?
Yeah. And it just so happens to be that the fucking video cameras stopped working. And it just so happens to be that the dude that was the night guard just happened to not be there when it happened.
It just happened to be. It just so happens that his autopsy report shows, broken vertebrae that are in line with strangulation.
Right.
But no, he hung himself.
Right. Well, it's sort of like the Paul Pelosi thing where he got into a fight with some other dude and they're both in their underwear.
Yeah.
Got into a fight with hammers.
Yeah.
Like the fuck? What? Like nobody's talking about this.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on? Like I think maybe it's just like the system's just like collapsing in on
I
itself.
think it's gotten too big.
I think it's gotten too big, and like there's so many, like, I think the system is for so long. I think prior to the internet, it was really easy to disseminate information.
This is their first crack at it.
Right.
Doing it this way.
It was really easy to disseminate information because you controlled all the large media groups.
Yeah.
Like you controlled Fox, you controlled CNN, you controlled. To me, Fox seems like a planted. It seems like a planted opposition to whatever the other mainstream media news was.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think maybe back in the day when all like the large media groups kind of started, like they were trying to do the right thing, like they were trying to deliver the news and everything. But obviously, when they went to like 24-hour news cycles, like you kind of have to.
They realized they could use it to brainwash the
right.
masses.
You really have to like up the ante, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to sit there. It's like
nothing's happening.
Yeah. Right.
Like all quiet on this end.
Right. Nobody wants to sit
some
there.
Some news anchors sitting there just like, yep, nothing yet.
Yep.
All quiet over here.
Yeah, because like breaking stories back in the day were like Watergate. Like the president was spying on somebody to try to ruin their campaign so he can continue the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Like that's a massive story.
Yeah.
Like that's massive news breaking stories. Whereas like now it's like somebody said something mean on Twitter.
Yeah.
And like now we're going to try to get this person canceled. Like it's not the same.
Just shifting focus.
It's just shifting focus.
And people's attention span's super bad these days.
It's super shitty.
I mean, like, you can do like some seriously heinous, fucked up shit, and it's all anybody talks about for like 2 weeks max.
Right.
And then it's on to the next thing.
Right.
Whatever the next thing happens to be.
Well, it's sort of like the fucking the FTX dude.
Yeah.
Like embezzled all that money.
Yeah, billions.
Billions. Like, billions.
Yeah, not just 1 billion.
Yeah.
Many billions.
Did you hear what prison he's going to? Mm-mm. The Epstein prison.
Is he going to that? Yeah. Oh, they're going to kill him. They're going to kill him. They're going to Epstein prison. Oh, man.
Oh, God.
There were several crypto billionaires who were turning up dead during all of that.
I heard that, too.
There was one guy who posted on Twitter that the CIA was coming after him and that the world leaders are all engaged in a satanic pedophilia cult. He tweeted that out.
Wouldn't doubt that at all.
Yeah. He tweeted that out. 12 hours later, he was found dead.
Was that the dude was like 30?
Yeah, he was face down in the ocean, and somebody who was on a morning jog found him.
It's sort of like, there was, oh shit, it was a lawyer for the Clintons, where they found him out in a pasture that wasn't his somewhere in Texas he was hung from a tree by an extension cord with a shotgun wound in his chest, and they said it was a suicide.
So which one did he do first?
Right.
Like was he hanging like, trying to pull the shotgun, or did he blow a hole in his gut and then climb a tree? Oh no.
Like I'd have to imagine the thing that's like wild to me is that I know for a fact that the first people that were on the scene were not government, like federal agents.
Yeah.
They had to have been like local sheriff's department or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like the
like
fuck
they'd never
went on
seen
here?
anything like
right.
that. Yeah.
And then you get the fucking Gumshoe walks up and he's like, nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here is a federal matter. I want this place roped off. It's like just fucking like that scene from No Country for Old Men Or he walks up on that cartel shootout after it happened. Just like, you know, it's fucking clown world, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know any other way to
The honking is coming from every direction. It's inescapable.
It's sort of like what was it when they had the trucker convoy? And there's somebody on Twitter was like the honking.
The honking won't stop. Was that up in Canada?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That was wild too, cause they locked people out of their bank accounts.
Yeah.
This is fucking. What is going on?
I think you were right when you said it's gotten too big.
I think the system's gotten too big.
I think it's gotten too big. I think that this is the first time that they've tried to do it this way, because ever since governments have existed and ever since populaces have existed, there's been a ruling class. There's been someone in power. There's been a group of people in power, and they've maintained their power however they could do it.
Right.
And this is the first time they've ever done it with technology and social media. And technology and social media, they keep outpacing one another.
Right.
So it's very difficult for them to keep up with it. So you throw a wild card in the mix like Elon Musk, who says, hey, I'm going to buy Twitter, and we're going to figure out what the fuck's happening.
Right.
And then he goes and he does it. They don't know nobody really knows how to do damage control here.
Right.
And the fucking general populace don't even know how to react to it. They don't know what to do with this information.
Right.
So I think that it's going to get a lot uglier, and I think that some more damning things are going to come to light. The only thing I can hope for is that somebody says this is enough.
Right.
This has gone way too far.
Right.
And that person is in a position which they are able to do something about it and not get suicided.
Right. Well, that's my main concern at this point for Elon, is that he's made some very big time enemies.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like after the first Twitter files went live,
right?
The FBI launched an investigation into Tesla. Like, I don't know, it was like 3 days later.
Right.
Not even trying to hide it.
Right.
So I hope wherever he is, he's got somebody watching his back.
Well, I mean, before
he stabs himself in the back of the head to death.
Right. I mean, the only thing I can hope is that obviously he's made a lot of real, like, he has friends that are very influential and well-to-do people.
Yeah.
Like, he has friends in a lot of different places and everything. I seriously hope that he has good people that are working security for him.
Yeah.
That are going to keep him safe, and they understand that at this point in time, kind of regardless of whatever his political stance is or whatever, that he's serving a very important purpose in the history of this country.
Yeah.
And us kind of figuring out
just how bad it is,
how our government actually operates, and what they actually think of the general population.
Yeah. How they treat us.
Right.
How they see us.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really give a shit if he's a liberal or if he's a conservative or what anybody else is.
No.
All that petty shit, I don't
care.
Fucking care.
I don't care.
I don't care if you're mad that there's no more, prayer in school. I don't care if you're mad that a boy can't go to the girls' bathroom. I don't care. None of that fucking matters right now.
Right.
What everybody needs to be looking at is what's going on above us.
Right.
Where they're all fucking each other in the butt and sucking wieners and fucking kids, and it's
right.
it's all happening right up here.
Right.
We all need to be looking at that and being concerned with that.
Right.
Once all that's taken care of,
demanding some accountability.
Just something.
Yeah.
Once we clear through all that, if we could clear through all that, then we can get back to all this petty shit.
Yeah. Like, we used to tar and feather people.
Yeah.
For stuff much less.
Yeah, what was we had an episode where we talked about the way they used to torture people. They were real creative back then, man. The Spanish donkey and the daughter's circlet and whatever the fucking thing.
That one where they got those two guys sawing that dude.
Hung a dude upside down by his ankles and sawed him in half. Dick first. So
I'm not calling for that kind of stuff, but what I am saying is that they need to start taking these people and dragging them in front of, not Congress, because it's obviously they're not
they're
going
on cahoots.
They're not going to do anything.
No.
Like we need something. I don't know if you could drag them in front of the Supreme Court justices, or if that would even be much better. I mean,
Everybody can be bought.
right?
Everybody is bought.
I mean, the only thing I can think would to be like to get together like 20 people, just randomly picked from around the country. It doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. It doesn't matter what your level of education is or income or any of that other stuff. You pick them and you sequester them like together, like in a compound where they have no communication with the outside world, and they simply just go through the evidence.
Yeah.
One by one for every single, and you pay these people big time money.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like set them up for life money.
Set them up for life money.
Well, who's giving the money? You know,
the taxpayer.
It's really easy for people to infiltrate things like that and direct it where they want it to go. There's just really no good civil way to do it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that anything outwardly violent should happen to anybody, because even though that would be funny, I can't say that should happen.
Right, exactly.
I can't say that. Those words can't come out of my mouth. But something's going to happen.
I mean, it's
whether or not it's the thing we want to see happen. Something's going to happen, and we're getting to a tipping point.
Also, too, we're coming to a head here where it's a ticking time bomb at this point, where some of these people are going to be like, well, if you're not going to do anything, I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
Right? And we don't want that.
No.
That's not what we want. I want people to have faith in the system, that the system's going to work the way it is intended to work.
Yeah.
Because when people see the system working the way that the system is intended to work, then everybody has faith in the system.
Yeah.
And you don't have people that are going out and dealing with it on their own.
Yeah.
Which is, you're pushing the envelope here, and that's what's getting ready to happen.
Yeah. That's how innocent people get hurt.
Right. And that's how innocent people get hurt. And that's not what we want.
No.
Well, not only that, but it might be that maybe that is what they want. Maybe they want somebody to go out and to be like, I'm going to take care of it. You're not going to take care of it. I'll take care of it.
Well, then you can paint that person as a domestic terrorist and a psychopath.
Right. And then it just pushes the agenda that they would like to push. Right.
Yeah.
Like, how do we continue to take more power away from the individual and give it to the state?
Yeah. So that we can keep fucking your kids.
Right.
That's the ultimate goal, it seems.
Yeah.
That's what it all leads back to.
Seems to be.
Yeah.
It's all about pedophilia and fucking money.
Money.
The two seem to go hand in hand.
It certainly does. Remember the Wayfair thing a couple years back?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. That was fucking wild.
That was crazy. Nothing ever came of that. Nothing ever happened.
They were like shipping kids in like containers and shit.
People were putting up like wardrobes and things on Wayfair for like $40,000, $50,000.
Oh yeah.
And they would post this item for sale, and in the title they would give like this string of numbers, like an SKU number.
Yeah. And
that number could always be traced back to a missing child, like a kid that went missing. So, what is that? Anybody looking into that? What's going on with that?
Obviously not. Well, I mean, also too with Twitter, they had a big problem with child pornography.
Yeah.
Right. And then they were doing nothing to try to fix that.
Not a damn thing.
Nothing. They didn't even touch it.
Yeah.
It's like it's obvious now that the FBI certainly had their hands in a lot over there.
Yeah.
You don't think that they could have done something about that? Hey, why don't you look into that? Why don't you try to look into that kid fucking they got going on over there?
If I could ask one thing of our government, please stop fucking kids.
Yeah, stop.
Fuck each other. If you're going to fuck something, fuck each other.
Right. Leave the fucking kids out of it.
Just leave the kids out of it, man.
Leave the kids out of it.
Yeah. go fuck an animal or something.
Yeah.
You sick fucks.
Yeah. I just don't. It's sort of. And, and I don't really know what to make of it, too, because it seems to me like they're trying to normalize pedophilia now.
Yeah.
And that might just be how I'm interpreting it, but it seems to be like that they're pushing towards this normalization of the sexualization of children.
Yeah, like the Balenciaga thing that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, I just don't... I can't...
I'm not going to get on board with that.
Yeah, I'm not going to get on board with it. There's nothing you can say. There's nothing you can call me that I'll ever be okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do it. The only thing I can think would be, like, if... And the thing is like, what they're going to end up doing is that if you don't have enough people probably push back on that sort of stuff, then they're going... Like, with this whole deepfake stuff that we're talking about, they'll deepfake you fucking a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, they totally will.
Right.
Hey, remember that video I sent you of the guy that did the deepfake video of Morgan Freeman?
Right.
And he used an AI-generated voice that sounded like Morgan Freeman.
Right.
It was if that dude's face, his actual face, wasn't below it that in the video.
Right. You'd never know.
You would never know. You would think that was a video of Morgan Freeman speaking.
Right.
And I had told Wesley, I was like, we're going to see that in our lifetime. And I sent him that video like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shit, it's actually here already.
Right.
It's happening.
Right. So it's like you don't think they're going to use that for some nefarious...
Of course they will.
Yeah, of course.
Of course they will.
They're like, oh, you don't want to play the game?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
The game will play you.
Yeah, we'll take you out of the game.
Well, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone. We're all fucked. Hide your children.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope that you enjoyed our conversation. Well, I promise the next episode we'll keep it light.
We're trying.
We're going to try and keep it light.
But they keep Jesus Christ.
It just keeps getting bad, man. And we just got to talk it through. It makes us feel better.
Yeah.
So,
it makes me feel good to hear somebody else be like, yeah, I'm seeing what you're seeing.
Yeah, I'm also seeing all the crazy shit, all that is happening. I'm seeing it as well.
Because I feel like nobody's saying anything. I'm like, am I the only person that's like noticing what's going on right now?
Yeah, so I guess by the time you're hearing this, episode 50 will have already come and gone. So, yeah, we apologize again for late releases, but things should be calming down here pretty soon so we can get back on kind of a semi-normal schedule there. We're still going to try and have a guest in here, somebody else to come in and talk about shit jokes and maybe the government with us.
No.
I know you guys like hearing us bitch about the government.
No. Well, you've stuck around this long. So
if you're listening to episode 51, then you're probably here for the long haul. So thank you, everybody who's listened and everybody who's continued to listen. We hope that you all had a wonderful holiday season. You got plenty of rest and you got all the material things that you wanted. Yeah, I think that's about all I got. All the normal things, how to contact us and send us emails and questions and Facebook messages and follow us on Twitter. We're also over there. If we said anything wrong or we offended you in any way, make sure you let us know and we'll read it out on our segment called I'm Sorry. And Wes, do you have anything you'd like to close with?
No, just thank you for the continued support. Thank you for continuing to tune in, listen to the episodes, and sharing it with your friends. And it means a lot. We really do appreciate the continued support. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, that's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.